If you want to get your own video made for you, exactly the same as you'll see in this one, then check out the first link in the description to get your personal PowerPoint made. Private option available. Okay, so as usual, we're going to be starting with your best features. Your first good feature is blue eyes. It's just a good color to have for your eyes and can add contrast to your face. You also have a positive canthal tilt, and it's clear to see in a couple of these images that you have a slight upward tilt of your eyes, which is always a good thing. Next, you also have decent eyebrow thickness. It's not quite as good as would be ideal, but I would say as a whole, it's got a good density, good darkness to it, so it's a positive feature. And I would also say your eyebrow shape is pretty good as well. It looks to have that slight curve where the ideal is either flat or a little bit of a curve. So yours seems to have this shape, which is definitely good. Next, I would say that your nose is an ideal shape. It's a tiny bit too broad up at the top, but as a whole, your nose is symmetrical. It's good refinedness, and yeah, it's not too big, it's a good size, so I'd say that this is as a whole positive, and it's straight from the side profile too. Next, you also have a broad chin, and it's a bit worse in this photo, maybe a high body fat percentage in this image, but in this picture, maybe it's because your beard is shorter as well. You can see that it's definitely got some width to it, and it's similar to the ideal that we have over here. Next, you also have equal facial thirds, and maybe there's ever so slight narrowing lower thirdness to it, but it doesn't look that big of a deal to me. And I would say for the most part you have equal facial thirds, so similar to the ideal, and it's definitely a positive. And finally, your hair texture is good. It's got a good density, a good fiber count, so I'd say this is another one of your best features. And now getting into your flaws, which we have quite a lot of, but thankfully there's also a lot of Looksmaxxing advice that goes specifically with a lot of these flaws. So first of all, goes without saying, high body fat percentage. This is by far the biggest killer of your looks at the moment. Like, in my opinion, you've got the dreaded skinny fat physique, because it's clear to see that there's not much muscle, especially in the upper body, the shoulders, and this high body fat percentage is killing your looks, not just facially. You can see like the roundedness, and in fact that's the other flaw that is in tandem with the high body fat percentage and loose hyoid skin. That's a real big killer in terms of your looks. It's especially noticeable in the side profile that you've got this loose hyoid skin, and that just kills the definition in your jawline, and it ruins primal, basically. It means that you're never going to have an attractive jawline. Well, not never, because luckily you're able to fix it, but by far your biggest issue is your body fat percentage, and being skinny fat just makes it worse, because it's one thing having a high body fat percentage and having a lot of muscle to go with it, because then at least you got some masculinity to your frame. But it seems that you've got very, very unattractive body, because like your hips are pretty much the same width as your shoulders, if not wider. They're a lot wider than your chest, which you never want to have. You always want your upper body to be this triangular shape, that you have narrow waist, narrow hips, and then you have really broad shoulders, broad chest. But for you, it's the opposite of that. So this is definitely your biggest flaw, not just in terms of your facial attractiveness, but in terms of your body as well. So we need to get you out of that. Thankfully, there is a fix. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time. However, you can undo the bad habits, because you're 33 years old, so you've probably been laying off these positive habits for a while, and you've had bad habits in your life. So in order to get out of the skinny fat trap, you need to first incorporate resistance training, especially for you, focusing on the upper body, because there's just no visible muscle. Even if the fat wasn't there for your shoulders, it just looks like they've not been trained, they've not been developed, and you might even have some gyno going on in your chest area as well. So I'll be focusing heavily on the upper body, and if you work on your lats as well, that can help give that V-taper, to really have that triangular shape for your upper body. So you want to do resistance training to build some muscle, and you also want to be focusing on a high protein diet. You can pretty much be calorie neutral when you are trying to get out of skinny fatness, because you're trying to do two things at the same time. You're trying to convert your efforts from your resistance training into muscle, and that's why you need the high protein diet. And you're also not needing to be in a calorie surplus, because you're burning fat at the same time. So you sometimes when you're skinny fat, you end up staying the same weight. The only consideration I might do is, if I was you, I would maybe go on a small cut just to begin with, because you are more on the overweight side compared to being skinny fat. And I would say that you want to drop your weight down to maybe the high 70s at first, while still doing the resistance training. But for the most part, like, you just want to get out of the skinny fat trap, and that's how we're going to do it, by incorporating these two methods. Next, your first structural issue is a long mid-face ratio, and it looks like you have a 1-to-1 mid-face ratio. Your eyes distance is slightly too close compared to the distance compared to your upper lip, which can make your face look a little bit long. It's not a huge flaw for you. It's still reasonably okay. Next, you also have a rounded jaw, which is shown in this image, and you also have a rounded gonian. But this could not be structural. It could just be because of the body fat percentage. So again, escaping the skinny fat trap will be a fix to that. Next, you also have eye bags, and I don't think this is a structural issue, because maybe a tiny bit, because you might have like reasonably low set cheekbones, but I haven't even included this in a flaw, because I don't think I've seen a lot worse. But maybe the eye bags is just because of your lifestyle, poor diet and poor sleep, and that's why a way to fix that, to reduce the chance that you have eye bags, is by making sure you're getting good sleep every night. So if you're drinking alcohol at the moment, which ruins your sleep, or if you're eating a lot of junk food, then cut those out and make sure you're getting a good rest, and that will help correct these eye bags. Next, I would say from the side profile, it looks like you have a slightly flat maxilla. It's maybe not recessed like in this guy, or this one's really flat, but it's just not as forward grown for my liking as is shown in the ideal. Next, you also have a curved hairline. You can see it's slightly rounded, like a bit like a McDonald's shape, which isn't ideal. And I also think you might be balding. I'm not 100% sure, which why I didn't confirm that you're a Norwood 2 or 3, because this could just be your natural hairline. But just in case, then I've included this in the list. And the way to fix that is by first getting on finasteride. Here's some information if you are balding. So if you look through some previous photos and you notice that your hairline is going backwards, then you'd want to take these protocols. And the other thing you can do is get on minoxidil, and this can just strengthen the density of hair, but finasteride tends to be a better solution in my opinion. And as a last resort, you can also think about getting a hair transplant. But for you, I wouldn't worry about this, because even if your hairline is receding, it's done very little damage at the age of 33. And generally what you see when your hairline starts receding is that the earlier it starts, then the faster it goes. So even if you do have some receding genetics, it's going extremely slowly for you, which is a positive. So for you, I would focus just on these two, but you might not even need it, to be honest, because you might not be receding at all. As I said, it might be your natural hairline. Next, I think your skin texture is also quite rough. It doesn't look ideal. It looks like there's quite a few blemishes and roughness there. So I would also consider getting on a skincare routine. Well, I wouldn't consider it. I would 100% recommend it. I think everyone should be doing this, especially at your age, that you want to reduce the chance that your skin is aging. And that's what skincare is. It's mainly a preventative measure. Next, I also think that you have discolored teeth. It's pretty clear to see that your teeth are very similar to these bad examples over here. They're not white as the ideal. So there's two things you can do for this. Number one, just generally taking care of your dental hygiene. And this is paramount, because obviously it's very important to make sure you're not just doing cosmetic things for your teeth, but you're actually taking care of them health-wise, because it's all great having perfectly good teeth in terms of appearance, but if they're not healthy, then that's not really good to anyone either. So this is extremely important. And more of a cosmetic thing, you can also get some whitening strips. And I've used these myself because I'm a big coffee drinker, and they do make a difference, to be honest. One of the issues is that they sometimes leave these gaps where it's still yellow in between. But for the most part, I think I would recommend them, and I think that they would help you as well. And next, you also have slightly crooked teeth. It especially seems these two middle ones might be overlapping. And one thing you can do is get on Invisalign. This is something where you would have to consult a medical professional for, a dentist for, to see if it would be a good solution for you, or you'd want to consider braces. So either one of these two solutions, you'd have to consult someone who's qualified in this department for. And next, you also have a long chin to philtrum ratio. So if we're looking at this image here, and to be honest, it's more visible in this one where your facial hair is shorter, it seems that your chin is slightly too long compared to your philtrum. It's the 3.5 to 1 ratio, whereas the ideal is more this 2 to 1. And finally, you have a large eye to height to width. So I'd say your eyes are slightly too tall compared to the width of them, but it's not a minor flaw, which is why it's the last on the list. And now getting into some looksmaxing advice, and we've already covered a lot, but I still think that there's a few more things we could do. First of all, I think your hair looks better when it's shorter at the sides. So on this one, it's a bit longer, similar to this one, where it can make your face look more round. But even in this image, I think there's an improvement. So I would go for this style or have it even a bit shorter. Next, I think that you need to maintain your beard better, especially in this one. It looks really scruffy and poor groomed. And we can see that the difference that it makes when yours is more similar to this, where it just kind of looks like you're growing it out everywhere and it's not very attractive. But if you're able to shape it the right way, you're actually able to hide some of the flaws in your jawline. So I think if you did this, maybe even getting on minoxidil for your beard as well, it would definitely help. Next, height maxing. 5'11" is a good height. It's average to maybe an inch above average. So, but still, the ideal is 6 foot, as we know in most of the West, if not taller than that. So I would consider just adding 1 to 2 inches with some shoes. And finally, getting to your final rating, I gave you a 4 out of 10. However, in terms of overall SMV, given the very low primalness, like this is negative primal in terms of a physique. So overall, you're a 3, but just focusing on the face, I would say that you're 4, especially for your age at 33. I've settled on this rating of 4 out of 10. Like, you're not crazy ugly. I didn't want to give you a 3, but I also don't think that you're average, so I didn't want to give you a 5. However, if we go to what your rating means, it means that you are below average. You're between the 90% and 60% percentiles. 10% scored lower than you, and 60% scored higher, and 30% scored the same. But because you've got so much looksmaxing potential, I would definitely say that you can reach 5 out of 10 because the structural issues aren't actually that bad. They are mainly environmental flaws, such as improving the skin texture, making sure that this grooming all sorts itself out because it's a lot worse in this photo than this one. And most importantly, lowering your body fat percentage. So if you're able to do all of these environmental fixes and the teeth as well, then I definitely see you getting to a 5. So I wouldn't be disheartened about the low rating, and there's a lot of looksmaxing and self-improvement to be done. If you want to get your own video made for you, exactly the same as you'll see in this one, then check out the first link in the description to get your personal PowerPoint made. Private option available.